Hey Arnold! I've gone on record saying that next to Avatar, this was my favorite Nicktoon of all time, and I have many nostalgic memories of it. I mean, I've done 2 admirable animations on it so far, and spoilers, that's not going to be the last. So, why am I talking about it on Animated Atrocities? Well, like pretty much every show ever, it managed to shit out a dud. And oh boy, we've got a particularly bad one today. Arnold Betrays Iggy, an episode that absolutely no one is in the mood to defend. Not even Craig Bartlett, the creator of the show. Yeah, it's a pretty big stinker. Let's tear it apart. The episode starts with Arnold, Sid, and Stinky walking to drop off Iggy's homework, and they go on and on about how cool he really is. Arnold gets to Iggy's apartment and comes in to find Iggy wearing bunny pajamas. Alright, yes, this is something that obviously gets across the point that Iggy is doing something embarrassing, but there really isn't much of a reason for Iggy to be wearing bunny pajamas. Iggy never seems to like wearing bunny pajamas, he's obviously not poor enough for those to be the only pajamas he can afford, and he never brings up any sentimental value surrounding them. Yeah, I'm stopping this already because they're already screwing up. Instead of never giving us a reason for Iggy to own bunny pajamas, make them say, the last present he got from a family member before they died. Obviously this doesn't need to be told now, but you got to have a reason beyond he was just doing it for Arnold to catch him doing something embarrassing. So, Iggy makes Arnold swear not to tell. The reason that Iggy doesn't want anyone to know is that it'll ruin his cool kid reputation. Fair enough, I guess. So, Arnold promises that he won't tell anyone. The next day, Sid and Stinky start talking to Arnold, and as soon as they bring up Iggy, Arnold starts laughing. They actually end up guessing that Iggy wears bunny pajamas, even though Arnold barely tells them jack shit. This is what we call contrived as fuck. They try to make it reasonable, but...
Come on, how bad could it be? I mean, it wasn't like he was wearing bunny pajamas or something.
That came literally out of nowhere, but the desire to keep the plot moving. Even though Arnold assures them that this isn't the case, they don't believe him. Yes, and instead they believe something that they barely guessed at. And of course, these two decide that they're going to tell the entire school, which they do. This turns Iggy into a laughingstock. Stinky even says that Arnold told them all about it, which is obviously a lie. And for some convoluted reason, Arnold actually decides to own up to it, despite the fact that these guys only guessed. Because Arnold didn't actually spill the beans, the story is horribly contrived. Something like this was done much better in Helga Blabs It All, because Helga was under the influence of laughing gas before she let out her own secret. But most importantly, with the way the story is told, Arnold is not actually the guilty party. Sid and Stinky are the ones who pried, they're the ones who spread the rumor, and thus they're the ones at fault. Arnold, of course, being Arnold, tries to apologize to Iggy. Now here's another missed opportunity. Have Iggy not forgive Arnold because the other kids continue to tease him at that very moment. If you don't do that, Iggy kinda looks like an asshole, only dealing with the problems in his own head. I mean, Arnold talks to his grandfather about it, and he laughs, but not directly at Iggy. Arnold's grandfather tells him to explain directly what happened, and if that doesn't work, then buy his affection with presents and favors. Okay, here's another problem with the episode. Iggy wearing bunny pajamas isn't that funny, even played seriously like this. So, Arnold tries to apologize directly to Iggy and gives him some chocolates. Of course, Iggy doesn't forgive Arnold. Like I said, if you don't show others continually teasing him directly, it makes Iggy look like an asshole. And no, Arnold's grandpa doesn't count, because I highly doubt he went over to Iggy's apartment specifically to harass him.
Oh, look, boys and girls, it's the bunny pajama boy.
That's not enough, especially because Iggy didn't even really seem to notice it was going on until they passed by. Alright, maybe he has the right to act like an ass this long, but not for the months that this episode immediately implies. I mean, what the hell happened? You were getting back on track, and you fucking blew it. Why do you want Iggy to look like an asshole? That is a serious question. I legitimately don't know. If I'd have to guess, it's that you're going for a you should forgive or you look like an asshole moral, but at no point do they imply that. Or that Iggy's even in the wrong for giving Arnold the cold shoulder for this long. So, Arnold decides to do Iggy's chores for a whole week. After which, Iggy still doesn't forgive Arnold. Yes, months after this embarrassing incident was forgotten about, Iggy extorted Arnold for chores, and the episode actually puts him in the right for it. So, Arnold demands upfront what he has to do to be let off the hook. The answer is for Arnold to wear a bunny suit in public. So the red carpet is rolled out, and, well, Iggy's reputation couldn't have been burned that badly if he was able to get the fucking news out there. Aaron City, where the show is based on, is roughly based on New York City. So it can't have been that slow of a news day where you're filming a kid wearing bunny pajamas! Seriously, in a city with 8 million people, folks do weirder shit on this on an hourly basis.
Arnold, I want you to know that when you go down there, it's going to be all I can bear to watch. And take pictures for the album.
Okay, writers, you do know that Arnold's grandpa actually cares for him, like, a lot, right? And once again, wearing a bunny suit isn't that funny! Besides, it's an old joke at this point. Oh, and finally, Sid and Stinky reveal what they did. Alright, a couple of things. This is what pulls Iggy into the wrong. Not extorting Arnold, not failing to forgive him, not making him humiliate himself. It's getting the wrong guy. And speaking of which, Sid and Stinky are the people who are realistically in the wrong here, get no consequences for what they did. I seriously have no idea what the writers are trying to tell me here. The narrative is just that confused. Also, Sid and Stinky are taking pictures. They're still not seen as the bad guy. Iggy is. It's just Iggy. Iggy tries to stop Arnold, but it's too late. He gets squirted at, gets caught by the New York news program, all for desperately wanting some forgiveness. Now Iggy wants some forgiveness, but Arnold doesn't give it to him. And he never did. This episode went over so badly that Iggy never appeared in any other episode. But if we're following who's really to blame, Sid and Stinky should have never appeared again after this episode because it's their fault that this happened. They got absolutely no consequences, and the story doesn't even consider them being in the blame. Bottom line, you want this plot done right, you should actually check out Phoebe's Little Problem, which deals with humiliation in a much more tactful manner.
So after reviewing Horn Sweet Horn from the Powerpuff Girls reboot, I got to thinking, were there any episodes out there animation-wise that offended me more in terms of plot contrivance and overall annoyance? Well, unfortunately, my brain dredged up an answer. Arnold Betrays Iggy. Ugh. First off, I love Hey Arnold. It's my second favorite Nickelodeon show of all time, and it's finally getting a justified ending, which I'm also really excited for. What Arnold Betrays Iggy is, I don't even know how to describe it. It doesn't even feel like the same show. In many regards, it's the worst episode of the entire series, and it's easy to see why, when this episode led to the creator not only making anyone on staff on the episode issue a public apology, but basically killed Iggy as a character. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at this episode, shall we? Also, RIP to Steve Bixton. I don't hold this episode against you. Everyone has their dark moments. This was yours. So we start this episode out with Arnold, Stinky, and Sid. Stinky and Sid are reoccurring characters who would go on to have more major roles in the show later on, including their own plot-centric episodes. Both are good characters in their own way. However, in this episode, they are their literal worst. And this started off swimmingly with them just going on and on about Iggy, how cool he is, how great he is. Stinky must say he's so cool about 6 times in the scene, if not more. Show, don't tell. It's a key rule of writing, and they broke it straight away. Chances are, if you have to tell your audience how cool or perfect a character is, it's not gonna work. Trust me, I've seen it. This year. Ugh. So Arnold's job in this episode, and only thing he basically does, keep that in mind, is deliver homework to a sick, super cool though, Iggy at his house, and upon entering we are greeted with Iggy. And the plot device for this episode. Bunny pajamas. Yes, Iggy wears bunny pajamas. Do you see that? Do you really? Because trust me, it's very important that you remember this fact, because Iggy sure wears bunny pajamas. To cut this scene short, Iggy basically throws a fit because he has contradicted the 8 times Stinky said he was cool, and basically begs Arnold to keep this a secret. Arnold laughs it off, but promises to do so. Fair enough, right? Anyone would have a little laugh at seeing someone basically in that frickin' getup. Scene ends, but the episode doesn't. Oh, it doesn't. So the next day, Sid and Stinky prod Arnold about super cool Iggy, and Arnold basically can't contain himself at the memory. He keeps it a secret still and basically just says it was something Iggy was wearing and makes him laugh. And I shit you not, the line that comes out of Sid's mouth is, "It's not like he was wearing bunny pajamas." Arnold hesitates, and that's enough for Sid and Stinky to take this as gospel. And they now know Iggy wears bunny pajamas. There is plot contrivance, and then there is whatever the hell this scene was. Arnold not only didn't flat out tell them, but of all things to guess clothing-wise, bunny pajamas is like the 3rd thing they guess. That's not convenience, that's not coincidence, that's just horrid writing for the sole purpose of moving the plot along. And it moves along. Badly. Arnold asks them not to tell anyone, but they do because they're dipshits. The whole school, as a matter of fact. And here's where the plot completely goes so overbearing that it's really hard to talk about it in detail until the climax. Essentially, the school mocks Iggy for this, and his popularity is ruined. And he, of course, blames Arnold and basically won't listen to anything he says, and we are supposed to feel sympathy for Iggy in this dilemma. And at the moment, sure, I guess it's reasonable, even though it's completely contrived shit. However, there is such a thing called abusive sympathy, and this episode does that really, really well. And it may be the only thing it sadly does well. So Arnold is faced with a moral dilemma. Again, this is showing guilt to the situation. He legitimately feels bad for what he's done to Iggy because he didn't mean it. He's Arnold, of course he wouldn't. So he gets advice from Grandpa Phil about the situation, and he brings up the bunny pajamas, and even he is laughing at it. Like, I don't get it. Bunny pajamas are the most hilarious thing in this town? It really must be dull because every character seems to endlessly crack up about it. I don't have an explanation, and I don't think there is one. Bunny pajamas. Laugh. So Grandpa basically tells Arnold to try and explain the situation, and if that doesn't work, maybe buy his forgiveness. Essentially try and smooth the situation over and prove that you want to show you're sorry. So he attempts this, by apologizing, and even giving a gift. But it doesn't work. What really is off-putting about this scene is Iggy isn't really shown throughout the episode to be really bothered by this whole ordeal. He just has this stone stoicness about him, and he directs all of his hatred at Arnold and no one else. And already it's getting annoying here, but it's far from over. Arnold continues trying to smooth this over while Iggy continues this smug, standoffish routine. And the more he does it, the more his face seems more punchable. But the heckling continues, and even we see Gerald laughing in the background at it. This episode really isn't good for anyone, but especially to see Gerald laughing at this, when he of all people, being Arnold's best friend, should understand it's hurting Arnold as much as Iggy, it's a really shitty move. So Iggy won't forgive Arnold, and these two jackasses think that maybe Iggy is taking this too hard, and maybe something should be done. But they figure it won't last forever. And then a year passes. Yeah, a year. A year of this BS. This was long before social media, long before lasting impressions could be had. Just hearsay from two kids' mouths is able to last a ferocity against someone for a year. Either that, or Iggy has just decided to hold a grudge this long, in which case, sympathy for the character is really ruined. So Arnold says he'll do Iggy's chores for a week, again, showing guilt, showing he cares, and wants to atone for this screw-up. So he does it. Arnold does this bastard's chores, being the bigger man, showing that he is willing to work for an apology, and he still doesn't give him it. You know what? Screw this character, okay? Screw him. You're basically putting down Arnold every step of the way this episode for basically no reason. He's shown how sorry he is multiple times, and it's gone from reasonable anger to pettiness and bitterness that Iggy is holding on to because he seemingly has nothing better to do. He's not showing emotional damage from this. He just looks like a normal kid. He's acting like a normal kid. He's only blaming Arnold seemingly for not keeping his promise, for breaking his trust. Trust of a kid he barely knows. And this sucks, and it drags the whole episode down. Hard. At this point, they basically lost everything with the plot as it is, but now is when the episode gets to its worst point. The end. So Iggy's grand plan of forgiveness is making Arnold strut out on a runway in a bunny suit to be humiliated because, quote-unquote, it's the only way he'll know how Iggy felt. No. Okay? Hell no! This is the most BS thing I've ever seen. Iggy was ridiculed, yes, by his peers. This is basic exploitation and humiliation of Arnold in front of the whole town. Recorded on video. It is nowhere near the same thing that Iggy went through. At all. In any capacity. This is a sick, orgasmic, revenge-filled fantasy that nobody asked for. But it's treated as such. He's treated like the hero, and Arnold is treated like the villain. By everybody. Why did the whole town and news crew show up for this? Is this seriously a monumental occasion in the town? Does this kid have this much pull? Even Grandpa is ready to demean his own grandson. What the hell is going on here? Seriously, screw this. But somehow, it gets worse. In one last act of contrivance for the plot, Sid and Stinky, who just so happened to be next to Iggy, just so happened to say it was their fault that the bunny pajamas thing was leaked. They drug it out of Arnold, and it was their fault. Another thing this plot did wrong, the true antagonists, Sid and Stinky, go completely unpunished. They just have their fill and laughs at everyone else's expense and cause this whole mess, and yet they aren't the ones punished for this episode. We all are. And then it happens. One of the most hard-to-watch scenes in animation history. Arnold walking out in slow motion in a bunny suit, completely humiliated by everyone, laughing and mocking him as Iggy is forced to watch how much of a jackass he has come to fruition. And it's just so hard to watch. Even to this day, knowing what Arnold went through, even with an older mind, and seeing what he's gone through now, someone who tried so hard to get forgiveness out of someone who basically did not deserve it. And going back to how they seem to make their mission to make everyone a dick, they include Stoop Kid in the background. How could you do that? Stoop Kid was such an influential part of the show, even though he was only in one episode as a main character. His life is basically owed to Arnold. So, he wouldn't be there, ridiculing him. This is shit. What, is Pigeon Man gonna swoop down and shit on Arnold's face next? Because that's what it seems like is gonna happen. Anyway, ending this scene, it's hard. It's one of the worst scenes you will ever see in a show. Especially a good show, where you know the show is better than this. It's uncomfortable knowing that a whole town, including adults, will come and tape a kid in a bunny suit being humiliated. But it's even worse knowing that it was all for absolutely nothing. And the episode ends, and the roles are reversed. Iggy trying to apologize, but Arnold is simply not having it. Can you blame him? I can't. This episode was a pile of hot garbage, and Iggy suffered for it by never being the focus of an episode ever again. The grand debut, a lasting impact. Not for good reasons. Arnold Betrays Iggy may not have the big misconstrued moral that Horn Sweet Horn did, but it has its own special set of problems that show, hey, not everything from the 90s was Golden Goose, and this is one of the prime examples. Iggy is one of the most unlikable characters maybe ever. He's put up against Arnold as a debuting character, someone we know, trust, love, and basically back in a situation. When we see Arnold trying to make this right and things going wrong for him, it's just a hard domino effect that all started because he was just delivering Iggy's homework. So remember, kids, good deeds will backfire on you, I guess. That's what I got from this episode. That and Vixen may have some childhood issues to think not only this fit the tone of the show, but was an okay plot to write. As an aspiring writer, I can tell you, this may be one of the biggest examples of how not to write an episode. Arnold Betrays Iggy is a black stain on an otherwise golden show, but it shows out everything is always perfect, especially if the writing isn't there. It can ruin a character almost immediately. First impressions are everything, and this was Iggy's last, and Craig Bartlett made sure of that. A PSA to creators, stop making episodes where other characters suffer and the instigators are never punished, because it's dumb and I'm sick of seeing it. You hear that, Casey Alexander? It never works, and it just looks outright incompetent. Like two kids guessing another wears bunny pajamas, for example, and ruining somebody's life in the process. Asshats.
It's really obvious that this episode doesn't need an introduction for anyone who watches Hey Arnold, but I will say that I was familiar with the show despite not being a fan of it. Like, I did remember watching episodes of it during my childhood, but just like other cartoons, I haven't grew up with it to the point that I just grew up with SpongeBob and the other cartoons from Nickelodeon. But I did remember watching the reviews centering around this episode, and when the creator wants no part of this episode after for how bad it was, I don't blame him. Believe me, when the creator wants no part of this episode, you know that this episode is far worse than the other episodes that I've talked about. It's probably on the same lengths as Foster's Everyone Knows It's Bendy, to the point that when you make the episode uncanon to the series, you know that there's a reason onto why it's uncanon. The episode begins when Arnold comes to visit to Iggy's place, and he notices that Iggy is wearing a bunny suit, and he prays to Arnold to not tell anyone at school, which Arnold promised. Unfortunately, his friends Sid and Sticky figure it out, which Arnold didn't say it to his friends. It's mainly out of coincidence that they just figured it out when Arnold stopped himself after one of them stated that it's not like Iggy was wearing a bunny suit. That's literally what really drives this episode down, is the fact that Arnold didn't tell on anyone, and the fact that it was mainly an accident. But when Sid and Stinky exposes the truth involving Iggy's secret, he refuses to forgive Arnold. And no matter what he tries to get the respect back, it just wasn't enough, to the point that it probably lasted for almost a year, since this has been going on during Christmas. And I'm not saying that because we're heading into December, because this has been going on while Iggy has been ignoring Arnold for so long that he really feels like that the gifts that Arnold has given to him just isn't enough, nor doing his chores. Mainly all of his chores in his place. And the only way for Arnold to get the forgiveness from Iggy, you guessed it. But to tell you the truth, people have been discussing about this, so I'm gonna be saving it for later and talk about mainly the multiple problems of this Hey Arnold episode. People have been addressing that the students in Arnold's school are really unlikable for how they're making fun of Iggy in his bunny pajamas, to the point that it's honestly the most hilarious thing ever, when at the end of the day, it's not that embarrassing. And to tell you the truth, Sid and Stinky are literally the most hateable characters, because they made a promise to Arnold to keep it a secret, and they go behind Arnold's back and make it feel like Arnold has exposing the secret to everyone, even though it wasn't really the case. To no surprise, Arnold didn't do anything wrong, since it was an accident at the end of the day. And the fact that Iggy refuses to forgive Arnold for all the good things he's just trying to make up, it's honestly unbelievable to think that Iggy is still friends with Arnold. Like, how is it really possible for Arnold to be friends with him after so much time after this episode? Because as far as I'm concerned, that's a more excusable excuse to use that for how time has passed, to have Arnold be mad at Iggy, in comparison to how Iggy feels towards Arnold when his secret's being exposed. Now look, I understand I need to watch more of this show to understand Iggy's character, but the way I see it, with him wearing glasses and living in an apartment of a story-tall building, he's probably in a wealthy family that made him more popular, to the point that it made me convinced that he stands out differently in comparison to the other characters from this show. If you really want me to feel sympathy when it comes to him being betrayed by Arnold, here's what you should do. Give him a backstory of what really happened in his past that centers around him wearing a bunny suit or pajamas that got him really embarrassed, and the reason onto why he kept wearing the bunny suit or pajamas is the fact that he likes bunnies, which only made him more embarrassed in front of his classmates at a younger age, which is why he holds a bigger grudge against Arnold. And even though that what Arnold did is accidental, I would at least understand onto why Iggy is being really rude towards Arnold, since that in his own mind, he feels betrayed, but it somewhat makes sense in comparison to what we ended up getting from this episode. For me personally, this entire episode really feels like it's a way of just addressing on what it's like to be betrayed, but at the same time, it's done for the wrong reasons. Like, if you're going to have Arnold take the spot of betraying Iggy, which is the title, is called Arnold Betrays Iggy, then you really need to do a better execution, because Arnold just isn't the type of character that really works in this scenario. And with this being released at the end of the 1990s, it really feels like that the writers just didn't know how to come up with betray stories, from what I can tell. And when it comes to how this episode is executed, They went over the top, like way over the top, to the point that Arnold's grandfather, who gave him advice on trying to make up the mistake that he did, took pictures of Arnold in the bunny pajamas. Let me tell you, the fact that this episode is attempting to make the whole betraying thing a bad thing, even though Arnold did it by accident and it just didn't feel like his character would be in this position, just sums up a lot onto why the creator wants no part of this episode. Since the creator didn't write this episode, because I'm pretty sure he wrote other episodes, he couldn't believe what he was witnessing when it comes to the final product. Because if he is so against the ending where Arnold is in the bunny pajamas and he's humiliated by so many people over something that he didn't intentionally mean to do for the sake of him betraying Iggy, then believe it or not, I'm starting to convince that he actually knows what is right for a cartoon episode to be in comparison to a bad episode that he didn't wrote. Now look, I get that the writer who has passed away has made really good episodes. I can't deny that. I may have not watched this show a lot, but I can understand that the writer had better intentions in other episodes. But when it comes to this episode, it just made me confused onto why he written the episode the way it is, especially the director who edited it the way it is. For every time I see these types of episodes, I always question onto why the mindset of what the writer's intentions are, especially the directors, but I'm just gonna say this right now. This is nowhere near as bad as Everyone Knows It's Bendy or the Imposters episode from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Believe me, there are a lot worse out there in comparison to this episode. The only respect I can give towards the writer who passed away is mainly the fact that he learned from his mistakes, and even though he had no participation in the Jungle movie considering he passed away, I have to admit that doesn't mean that we shouldn't forget of the good things that he did. When it comes to this episode, there's always going to be a lot of thinking on what the writers did, considering that other people may have criticized on what writers did in other bad episodes, but to tell you the truth, there's no avoiding of what bad things you did when it comes to bad episodes. As far as I'm concerned, it's always bound to happen, and just by watching this episode for the first time after watching reviews of it, it really shows that you can't avoid any negativity no matter what you do. This episode is miserable, and when I say miserable, it's miserable for all the reasons that makes this episode difficult and one of the worst from Hey Arnold. Granted, I did some research on people's perspective on the other bad episodes, but to tell you the truth, focusing on this episode really sums up a lot onto why it's described as one of the worst episodes from not only from this show, but basically any other cartoon. Whenever I think about this episode, when it comes to bad cartoon episodes, all I think of is misery. And the thing is, when I don't use the term torture, that's mainly the fact that this entire show is nothing like the other cartoons, since there was heart put into it. But there was no heart put into this episode for obvious reasons. I'm giving this episode a 1.5 out of 10.
I decided to make this episode after being suggested to do so by one of my subscribers. Iggy's look consisted of his brown mushroom-cut hair, green shades, a purple sweater with a yellow plaid shirt underneath, and dark pants. Iggy was known as the coolest kid in Arnold's class. He was a character who was pretty much in the background for most of the series. For example, he briefly appeared in Season 1, Episode 6 as one of the students who were trying to turn over the Jolly Ollie Man's ice cream truck. Again, in Season 3, Episode 12, titled Cool Party, Iggy can be seen in the background as an attendee at Rhonda's party and again at Arnold's party later on. The only episode where we really got to know Iggy was during the infamous episode Arnold Betrays Iggy. This episode was actually pretty controversial, with some arguing that it was the worst episode in the entire Hey Arnold series. I'll leave a link in the description box below to an article by Screen Rant that talks about exactly why it was so disliked. During the episode Arnold Betrays Iggy, Arnold is tasked with delivering homework to Iggy because he is sick. We then see Iggy's home, which was a pretty upscale apartment. Once he enters Iggy's home, he sees Iggy wearing bunny pajamas. This embarrassed Iggy because he had a reputation to uphold. Iggy makes Arnold promise not to tell anyone about his secret. The very next day, as Arnold is talking with Sid and Stinky, Iggy's secret is revealed.
How bad could it be? I mean, it wasn't like he was wearing bunny pajamas or something. You're pulling my leg, right? I didn't say anything. Iggy wears bunny pajamas? The kind with feet and floppy hair? No, of course not. I didn't say that. Oh man, this is unbelievable. He must be the only 9-year-old in the whole dang city that wears bunny pajamas. I didn't say he wears bunny pajamas. But that's it, isn't it, Arnold?
Arnold then makes them promise to not tell anyone. Soon, the whole school knows Iggy's secret, and he is furious at Arnold. Arnold tries everything he can think of to be forgiven by Iggy. In the end, Iggy decides to humiliate Arnold by making him wear bunny pajamas in front of the whole city. However, right before Arnold appears, he overhears Sid and Stinky mention how they accidentally discovered Iggy's secret and how Arnold's punishment was way too severe. Iggy then has a change of heart and tries to stop Arnold, but unfortunately, it was too late. The episode ends with Iggy begging for Arnold's forgiveness, which Arnold refuses to give. From this episode, Iggy was portrayed as a vengeful kid who valued his social status above his friendships. He was pretty harsh on Arnold, and even after Arnold asked for forgiveness for something he didn't even do, he wasn't believed nor forgiven. To be honest, I completely forgot about this episode, and when I watched it, I really didn't like it. I didn't like seeing Arnold being treated so badly, especially when it wasn't even his fault.
You're so lucky Mr. Simmons picked you to drop off Iggy's homework.
Directed by Dan Povenmire. I guess this was before he was part of Family Guy, and this was certainly long before Phineas and
Remember
Ferb.
when he drew that funny chalk picture of Principal Ward's looking like a circus clown on the playground?
And Wards got all mad and made Iggy stay after school for a whole week.
That was so
Some very subtle
cool.
foreshadowing
Yeah,
about this
I think
rather
it's just
cool
fake.
Iggy character.
So
Is he watching Scarface? There was a lot of gunshot there. Oh no.
Arnold, what are you wearing?
Arnold, Iggy Arnold.
Forget it. Didn't see anything. Are those bunny pajamas? No, of
So he
course
found out
not.
that he was a
I'm
furry?
9 years old, for Christ's sakes. Why would I be wearing
Oh
bunny
god.
pajamas?
The way he said that I'm 9 years old just took me back to Home Alone 4 when not Kevin said that.
I'm 9 years old. Watch a lot of TV.
Okay. So it's true. But Arnold, you gotta do me a favor. You gotta promise me you won't tell.
Don't worry, kid. You're not alone on that. Good old Ralphie boy from Christmas Story feels your pain.
I promise that I won't tell anyone. That I won't tell anyone that you sleep in
Let me
bunny
guess.
pajamas.
He's gonna tell people.
Arnold.
Word spreads around, and then Iggy's gonna hate his guts.
So Arnold, how was Iggy yesterday? Was he faking? Oh no, he wasn't faking. I mean, he seemed kind of sick.
Oh no, it's going to come out, and then we'll have a conflict coming.
something that happened when I went to Iggy's last night. Well, what happened? I can't talk about it.
Was it last night? Because it looked like it was late afternoon from the exterior shot.
Was it something he did?
Well, it was just something he was wearing, but that's all I can say.
Was it a dress?
No, of course not.
Was he wearing a dress? That kind of
How bad
reminds
could
me
it
of
be? I mean,
the first Drake
it
and Josh
wasn't like he was
episode,
wearing
but
bunny pajamas
I
or
guess we
something.
should kind of forget about that. Also,
He
can we
didn't say
acknowledge
he
that
wears
it's pretty
bunny
lucky that they
pajamas.
guessed
But
buddy
that's it,
pajamas
isn't it,
on like a
Arnold?
third guess?
Look, I promised Iggy I wouldn't tell, so you guys have to promise too. Sure, Arnold. We promise.
We
Oh,
won't tell a soul.
let me guess.
It's true.
Iggy wears bunny pajamas.
Yeah, of course.
With big old floppy ears and everything.
You know what
Just
else this
like a
episode's
little
reminding me of now?
baby.
This is reminding me of that You're Ed Here episode from that Ed and Eddie.
Pajamas.
That's not a good thing. I already sat through that. Didn't like that episode. And yeah, now we
Don't try to
get
deny it.
little
Everybody
elements of
knows
that
about
sprinkled
your
into this. So we
feet
got elements of the Bendy
Yeah,
episode,
Arnold told
You're
us
Ed
all
Here.
about it. Arnold.
Long before I think either of those episodes came out.
Traitor.
This is like the granddaddy of them. Yeah, now Iggy hates his
I'm
guts.
really sorry. I know you're
That's
mad,
usually how
but
this
you
part of
have
the
to
story
believe
goes.
I didn't do it on purpose.
We're almost halfway through the episode, and yeah, this episode's rocketing by. I mean, it's only 11 minutes, but still, man. They're not taking their sweet time with this.
What the heck did you do to make him hate you?
Well, I accidentally found out he sleeps in bunny pajamas.
You mean feet pajamas? With a hood and floppy ears?
Yeah.
Wow,
And he
even
made
Grandpa
me
finds it
promise not
funny.
to tell. I just wish I knew how to make him forgive me.
Well, sir, some people would say you should buy his forgiveness with presents and favors. But I say you should just go to the boy and apologize and explain to him in a calm, rational way how it happened, and that you didn't mean to hurt him.
What if that doesn't work?
Then buy his forgiveness with
Yeah,
presents and favors.
kind of saw that punchline coming.
There now, you're all in bunny pajamas. Oh, that's a good one.
Apparently, this is a universe where that's just like the ultimate pinnacle of comedy, because everyone seems to find it funny.
Iggy, we have to talk. Look, you can't stay mad at me.
Oh,
forever.
God, in the
Hey,
bathroom?
Come on, I bet everybody's already forgotten about it.
Oh, look, boys and girls. It's the bunny pajama boy.
Thanks, Helga. Thanks a lot.
Boy, Iggy's really taking this thing hard.
Yeah, that's true. But how long can a feller stay mad?
Damn. And he still probably hates his guts.
What if I do your chores for a whole week? Would that be enough to prove to you how sorry I am?
You're saying you want to do my chores for a whole week? Is that it?
Yeah. All right, I'm finished. I did all of your chores.
Okay, thanks, Arnold.
It's not enough. He's gonna make him do more crap.
Wait a minute. I just want to make sure everything's okay. You forgive me now, right?
Are you kidding? Of course not. After what you did to me, how could doing a few chores possibly make me forgive you?
Iggy, I thought we had a deal.
I never said I'd let you off the hook.
What, Iggy?
Titled Dick.
What do I have to do to prove to you that I'm really sorry?
This I do remember. Yeah, this is the big payoff. Yeah. He wears the bunny suit.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
I can't believe this apparently drew that much of a crowd and a red carpet.
Down there and walk that long, lonely, embarrassing walk. It's going to be all I can bear to watch. And take pictures for the album.
Wow, thanks, Grandpa.
I guess it's kind of mean of Iggy to make Arnold go through this. I mean, Arnold
You don't say.
really didn't spill the beans.
Yeah, come to think of it, it was you and me who kind of pulled the truth out of him. It was a fluke.
Oh, and of course he happens to hear that.
It sure is. a
They're like, crap, we got
terrible
2 minutes
state
of
affairs.
episode left. We gotta have it go. Wow. Not only kids, but adults. And the elderly. Apparently everyone just finds it so funny and humiliating that this kid, any kid, is running around in one of those bunny suits. Are you serious? What the hell, man?
The Bunny Boy's on TV.
What the hell? What the actual hell? Jeebus, man. Wow. And like that, Iggy was then banished to Terrible Character Island along with Bendy after that.
Arnold, I am so sorry.
Oh, it's you.
I tried to call it off. I couldn't get through. I'm sorry. Come on, Arnold. What do I have to do to make it up to you?
Wow. How the tables have turned.
Oh, come on. Eventually, you're going to have to forgive me, Arnold. Arnold?
God. So now it's right back where it started. So really, what was accomplished in this episode? That's what I ask. Like, what seriously was accomplished? Man. Like I said, yeah, this is like a combination of elements of other episodes that I didn't like that I already talked about for Media Wiz. That it really is kind of like Bendy meets Your Ed here. Because you got the element of, characters embarrassed in front of their peers, and then, someone just kind of gets away with it. So there's that, and then, like I said, elements of Bendy with the fact that Iggy pretty much never appeared ever again in the series. And, the fact that, apparently the showrunners and the show staff hated this episode too, so, has that going for it as well. How would I rank it among some of the other bad episodes? I guess I need some time to really mull that over, because it's bad. I guess, considering that I kind of just lumped all bad episodes of good shows together as like an dishonorable mention in my my 450th video with the top 20 worst shows I've ever talked about, and I just put all bad episodes together, kind of lumped them all in as one. I guess that's kind of an appropriate way to land, because I seriously do need some time to think about how this ranks compared to some of the other bad episodes I've watched. But yeah, hopefully next time, if we ever talk about something Hey Arnold related again on this show, it'll be something good. As for now, I could definitely see why this is one of the most despised episodes of this show. Yeah, screw this, man. This episode sucked.
What? So you get home, you get you some snacks and chill after a long day at school. You flip on the television and turn on Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon.
And no matter what show was your favorite, chances are you landed right in the middle of a SpongeBob marathon. Then Hey Arnold came on, and I changed the channel. I barely paid any attention to that show. And all my friends and classmates would talk about how awesome Hey Arnold was. So I caved and decided to binge the entire series, the movie before the Jungle movie came out, and eventually the Jungle movie. And after I finished, I wish I just could have just met my younger self and been like, you didn't like Hey Arnold? Hey Arnold was a fantastic series, that much goes without saying. Easily within my top 5 Nickelodeon shows, hands down. But we aren't here to sing praise to some of Arnold's best episodes. Nah, quite the opposite. Mainly because this specific episode stood out the most among others. Whenever I would look over video reviews and comments, a number of people would agree that Arnold Betrays Iggy is one of its worst episodes, if not the worst episode. It was a relatively common thing where the main character is put into a situation where one or a group of people are convinced they've done something awful or unforgiving, often due to petty misunderstandings. Hell, one of them even involved Donkey Kong busting out with a sick R&B song. It was amazing.
I'm nobody's hero. An absolute zero. I'm nobody's hero.
But the thing is, those type of episodes often end with said misunderstandings being resolved, or whatever party getting reprimanded or punished for their actions. But after watching this episode, it was safe to say that that was clearly not the case. This episode's main focus is around Iggy. He's typically seen standing off in the background doing whatever as the plot passes by him. Shame to say that the first episode he plays a major role in completely destroyed his character to the point where he pretty much became irredeemable. But he's not the only one to blame here. It's literally everyone involved in this episode. Let's get into the plot. The episode starts out with Sid and Stinky walking with Arnold, who is assigned to drop off homework to Iggy's house due to him being sick. Apparently this is an honor since Iggy is the coolest person in school. They all just basically talk about Iggy, and Stinky's whole dialogue is,
He's so cool. That was so cool. He's so cool.
okay, you could never convince me that a chalk drawing of a principal dressed as a clown is somehow cooler than a lyrical rhythm that is Gerald. Arnold arrives at Iggy's place, and Iggy's mother just lets him in without informing Iggy in advance. Arnold then discovers that Iggy is wearing bunny pajamas. Why would he be wearing bunny pajamas, possibly knowing full well that one of his classmates will show up? I have no clue. And then the mom just snatches the blanket off of him. She clearly doesn't like this boy. Iggy tells Arnold to promise to not spill the beans about him wearing bunny pajamas, as it will ruin his reputation as a cool kid. The next day, Arnold heads to school with Sid and Stinky, and they pressure Arnold into inadvertently telling them about the pajamas, even though it was a shot in the dark, 1 in a million chance guess. Arnold tells him not to tell anyone about it and keep it a secret.
Sure, Arnold. We promise.
We won't tell a soul.
They told everybody.
Iggy wears bunny pajamas.
Then completely throws Arnold under the bus by saying that he told them all about it, which he didn't. Iggy, rightfully so, gets angry and confronts Arnold, then storms off despite Arnold literally denying the obvious lie. You would think Arnold would confront Sid and Stinky since they're a couple of snitches, but he never interacts with either one of them for the remainder of the episode. He mostly focuses on trying to reconcile with Iggy, who continues to ignore him. Arnold then seeks advice from his grandpa, Phil, and while he does offer some sound advice, he literally says this.
Well, sir, some people would say you should buy his forgiveness with presents and favors. But I say you should just go to the boy and apologize and explain to him in a calm, rational way how it happened, and that you didn't mean to hurt him.
What if that doesn't work?
Then buy his forgiveness with presents and favors. There now, that wasn't so hard, was it? What?
Even if you think he was just being funny, Arnold took that advice and brought Iggy some chocolate, packed up nicely with an apology.
So does that mean you forgive me?
No way.
Give me back my damn chocolate.
Alright, that's fair, but you can't deny someone's apology all while finessing their chocolate. I don't like Iggy now, and the issue prolongs throughout the 4 seasons. Like, come on, man. You expect the audience to believe that everyone would have a core memory over one random kid and a 9-year-old at that, wearing bunny pajamas. Okay. Arnold offers to do Iggy's chores for a whole week. This catches his attention, and of course, Arnold makes good on his word and does just that.
You forgive me now, right? Are you kidding? Of course not. After what you did to me?
So, after hearing those choice of words, this will be the most logical rebuttal. Jesus Christ, the patience this guy has. Arnold finally asks Iggy what needs to be done in order to earn his forgiveness, to which Iggy proposes that Arnold goes out in public wearing bunny pajamas. And instead of saying no and telling Iggy to go kick rocks, Arnold agrees to the condition, to which somehow managed to rally the majority of the public. And he's sitting on a throne to further degrade him. The difference between the two situations was that this was a rumor, this is public humiliation. And not a single person stood up or even tried to defend Arnold, not even his own grandfather.
Arnold, I want you to know that when you go down there and walk that long, lonely, embarrassing walk, it's going to be all I can bear to watch. And take pictures for the album. What?
Arnold has always been a good person and a confidant to probably half of the people in this crowd, and not one person stood up for him. This moment would have been the perfect opportunity for Sid and Stinky to redeem themselves, since they're clearly responsible for putting Arnold in this situation. They do absolutely nothing, then proceeds to continue participating in the humiliation of Arnold.
Total humiliation.
Yep, and it's gonna be much more humiliating on account of we'll have pictures.
Iggy somehow overhears them in the crowd and tries to stop Arnold, but it's too late. For nearly a long, degrading minute, Arnold endures public humiliation. Wow. Iggy then shows up to Arnold's door in an attempt to apologize, but Arnold legitimately walks out of the episode, absolutely frustrated, probably and hopefully off to go kill Stinky and Sid first. After 11 minutes, I was left with that feeling of holding a grudge against characters that don't even exist. The entire episode was an excuse to punish Arnold without a clear and cohesive reason on why or how he should continue to be punished. Like literally everyone was completely against him. Even the title of the episode, yeah, this episode was trash. So, to sum it all up, Arnold visits Iggy to drop off his homework, only to find him in bunny pajamas. To avoid complete humiliation, Iggy makes Arnold promise to keep it a secret, to which Stinky and Sid makes a lottery-winning guess and lies to the entire school, ruining Iggy and especially Arnold's image. Arnold seeks advice from the best possible person he could go to, only to get the worst possible advice, which sunk Arnold into an even bigger hole with Iggy. Iggy remains irrational and dismissive for a comedically prolonged period of time, and then exploits Arnold into doing his chores for an entire week, only to proclaim that Arnold didn't do nearly enough to earn his forgiveness. Iggy then makes Arnold completely humiliate himself by walking a red carpet in front of the entire city, only to change his mind at the last minute when he overheard Stinky and Sid admitting that Arnold didn't reveal his secret, despite Arnold consistently repeating himself that he didn't do so. Iggy is regretful and begs for Arnold's forgiveness, and Stinky and Sid avoid any and all accountability or consequences for their actions. Where was Gerald? Oh wait, there he is. You know an episode is bad when it has the ability to put you in a bad mood. And apparently the episode was so panned by fans and critics, it was never aired again, and Iggy was demoted to background character forever. Yeah, with the head shaped like Princess Yue's hair, good riddance. Yeah, this entire scenario didn't do Iggy any favors when he revealed he was a pretty awful person to Arnold. At this point, I wouldn't have been surprised if they just called Hey Arnold, hey. Here we go.
Yep, we have made it to what is known to be, by loads of people, to be the most infamous episode of Hey Arnold. We are finally to this one, which I wanted to talk about it for quite some time, and now I can finally give my thoughts to what I think about what is, of course, known for being the most infamous episode and hated episode of Hey Arnold. Again, as of this point, there hasn't been any episodes that I considered not my favorite or bad or anything. I mean, of course, I had some episodes where it was focusing on Big Bob, right, that I didn't like. But, like, not, like, hate the episode, like One Course Meal hate, or, you know, Demolition Doofus, or so, kind of hate. But, yeah, we got one that I can understand why it gets so much hate. And yeah, again, when you watch this one, you can kind of see what people are going with this one. They are not exaggerating when it comes to it. So it starts pretty much simple, like a regular Hey Arnold episode, where Arnold, Sid, and Stinky are walking, and it's Arnold's turn to Mr. Simmons has asked Arnold to take Iggy his homework, and they keep talking about how cool Iggy is as a character, which we've never really known much of Iggy's character a whole lot in this show to this point, but they sing of how cool of a character he is. And yeah, Arnold goes to his apartment and he goes to see him watching TV in a bunny pajamas. And yeah, he starts laughing. And I don't necessarily know why it's funny. I mean, I don't know exactly, but yeah, Arnold finds it funny that he's a 9-year-old boy wearing bunny pajamas. And of course, he is telling Arnold, Arnold's got to swear he will not tell a soul about this, because he wants to keep his cool kid reputation. And Arnold says that he will not tell anyone. And we know Arnold. He is a good-hearted young man, right? He's a good kid, what I'm trying to say, right? Arnold's a good kid in this show. So, I can see him keeping this promise. And when they're on the bus, Sid and Stinky are just rambling on, and when they mention to Arnold how it went with Iggy, he starts laughing, and they're wondering what's so funny. And then he says that he was wearing something, but he didn't exactly say bunny pajamas. But Sid and Stinky actually guessed it. Yeah, Sid and Stinky just guessed that, like, was he wearing bunny pajamas? Arnold didn't say a word. And you know what these two decide to do? They decide to tell the whole school. Even though Arnold tells them not to say a word. And yeah, they go out and tell the whole school that Iggy wears bunny pajamas. And of course, Iggy feels betrayed. But again, remembered, Arnold did not say anything. I mean, yes, he said that Iggy was wearing something, but he did not say that it was bunny pajamas that he was wearing. Stinky and Sid only guessed. They only guessed, if he was. Arnold didn't say a word. And again, Arnold is just trying to get Iggy to forgive him. And of course it doesn't work, which Arnold's grandpa comes in wondering, and again, even he says how sweet of a man, a young boy Arnold is. How could anybody hate Arnold? And yeah, of course, Arnold's grandpa doesn't really make this situation any easier because he starts laughing too about Iggy wearing bunny pajamas. And he asks his grandpa how to earn his affections and to forgive him. Which, yeah, Arnold goes back to Iggy, buys him some chocolates that he loves, but of course he still doesn't forgive Arnold. Yeah, for something that Arnold did not do. And again, he's trying to get forgiveness again and again, and people are still haven't moved on from this. And then we actually see the seasons pass. Yeah, like Christmas and then spring, for example. And yet they have still not moved on from this. Iggy still has not moved on from this after months and months and months. After it happened, he is still not forgiven Arnold. Arnold even says that he'll do Iggy's chores, which he does. He does all of Iggy's chores. And yet, after all of that, Iggy still doesn't forgive Arnold. And there's only one thing that Arnold can do for Iggy, that Iggy says to make it fair. And that is to wear the bunny suit in public. On live TV. Yeah, on live TV with a red carpet. And yeah, Arnold's grandpa isn't really much help here either, because he says that it would be hard to be bared to look. But of course he pulls out a camera so pretty much he's going to want to take pictures of Arnold in a bunny suit. And this is when when Iggy finds out that it wasn't Arnold. Yeah, Sid and Stinky reveal for what they did. Now is where Iggy learns that it wasn't Arnold. And he tries to stop Arnold, but it's too late. Arnold comes out, is humiliated for something he did not deserve. He gets sprayed at, he gets recorded on live TV, made fun of, and is just humiliated. And now Iggy wants forgiveness from Arnold, but he never does forgive Iggy. And apparently, this is from what I heard at least, this was the last episode to have Iggy appear. This episode ended up so badly, this was the last appearance of Iggy to be in the whole show. Yeah, that's how bad this episode went. This episode ended up so badly that they just got rid of Iggy's character. And that was the infamous episode of Hey Arnold, Arnold Betrays Iggy. Yes, I can completely understand why this episode is so infamous. Why you see a lot of content creators talk about this episode. And yes, it's definitely, I'm up there with all of them. that talk about how this episode is hated. I mean, again, Arnold did not deserve any of it. Because he did not say a word. And he gets, at the end, he gets humiliated on live TV. And again, you probably would think Sid and Stinky should have got the punishment. I mean, think about it. They did not get any punishment throughout the episode because they were the ones that told everybody, right? They were the ones that told everybody in the school that Iggy wore bunny pajamas. And they got away scot-free, right? Iggy got angry at the wrong person